Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Collider YouTube channel. We've got another South by Southwest 2021 interview with Justine Bateman here with her movie Violet. Justine, congratulations. First feature as a writer-director, and that is just a huge accomplishment.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm thrilled with how it turned out. I'm thrilled with the response it's gotten. Very happy.
You definitely should be. Just in case our viewers do not know what Violet is about, though, just yet, would you mind giving a brief synopsis?
Generally speaking, it's about the thoughts we have, or in the film I call it the voice, that treats us like crap, that makes us make fear-based decisions. The example I give is the thought, or the voice that tells you, don't wear that shirt to the party or no one's going to talk to you. So consciously or unconsciously, you'll change your shirt because you're afraid that's true. So then you have, the more times you do that, the more times you make fear-based decisions, the further away you get from being your true self. So this is about a woman who realizes that that voice has been lying to her whole life. And so she starts going against it, and then it comes at her harder. And just like, how do you get from a life that's made of fear-based decisions to a life that's made of instinct-based decisions?
That was a very good synopsis, but I feel the need to tell everybody out there that just hearing that does not do the movie justice, because your style with bringing that kind of concept to life on screen is some really unique next level stuff. And Olivia is just something else in this movie. I don't think I've ever seen a performance quite like that from her yet. So it was very exciting to see how you kind of pushed the range of her work, at least as much of her filmography as I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, when I was acting, I certainly remember, there's only so much you can do with the types of roles you get. And so it takes getting this type of role to be able to show what you can do. So I hope she gets many more types of roles like this, because she really gave herself to the role and to the process. And people are just going nuts over her performance, which is great.
I'm happy to hear that. Going back to last year's festival, because I know how sensitive I got when South by was canceled, despite the necessity of actually canceling an in-person festival. So what was that experience like for you? And how do you kind of, keep yourself focused and keep yourself forging forward when the rug is pulled out from under you in that sense?
Yeah, I think what was so hard about that cancellation versus the cancellation of, all the other festivals that that were supposed to occur last year, or that did in some form, was that it was set. Like everything was done. It was ready to go. All the arrangements had been made. All the promotional items, the filmmakers had their stuff together, for you guys, for the press, for the tech aspect of it, the music aspect of it. Venues had been booked. I mean, everything was booked. It's like 50 huge weddings had been ready to go. And then we couldn't do it. So, and then the buildup, of course, to, raising the money and then making the film and getting it through post and everything. And then you wait, you hear about that you're in the festival, and then you have to wait to tell anyone. And then so all that waiting, but there's going to be a release, and then there's not one. So I wound up, and I know this will sound like a humble brag, but it was really just a coping mechanism. I wound up writing 4 scripts during the shutdown because I just didn't want to be in this reality. I was like, I don't want to be in California in 2020. I'd rather be in this situation I'm making up every day. That's all I want to think about, is this pretend parallel universe.
I am impressed that you were able to channel that into something productive like that. I hope we get to see some of those scripts too.
Yeah, me too.
Kind of a good thing in this situation, but I was reading that you wound up getting offers from other festivals happening between then and now. So why not take one of those? Why stay dedicated to premiering your movie at South by Southwest in particular?
I thought 2021 was definitely going to be in person. So yeah, and I knew South by was going to do theirs virtually for this go around. But I applied nonetheless, just in case they did it in person, and and applied to a couple of, reapplied to a couple of the festivals that wanted this last year, and then around November, December, we found out about South by 2021, and also I realized that because movie theaters were so unfairly demonized, I thought about where you're going to catch the virus, cruise ships, fine, when actually tons of infections came out of cruise ships. But movie theaters, where I don't remember hearing one case coming out of a movie theater, they were vilified, which I thought was really unfair. Anyway, I was like, oh man, I don't think we're going to have in-person festivals in 2021, at least not. I was trying to hedge my bets. So I was like, you know what, this is kind of perfect. You know, I really, really felt for South by that they had to cancel for all of, you know, but especially for the festival organizers. And they've been so supportive. And so it was kind of great to, you know, just say, you know, let's just go for it. And the timing for me was really great because all those other opportunities, we still had people very focused on the virus. And we had the US election that people were very focused on. And I thought, you know, what are we going to do? It's like, oh, 5,000 people died today. And then go like, hey, everybody, don't forget to catch my film at South by. You know, I mean, was that what I was going to do, you know, on social media? So no, I didn't want to do that. So this has worked out. Long answer to your question, but this has worked out really great.
For what it's worth, I feel like I needed this kind of, you know, on-screen exploration of the internal struggle that I deal with now more than ever, maybe. So I'm kind of glad that it's coming out right now, because now I feel like I got a little added momentum when we get back out into the world.
That's great. That's ideal. So I'm glad that aspect of the timing is on the mark too.
I mean it. All right. Going back to the beginning of the genesis of the idea, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I read that you first got this idea in 2011. So what were you picturing for the film at that point? And what would you say is the biggest difference between that version of the film and what we see in the final version today?
That's a good question. I don't know that I mean, I envisioned that it would shoot in Los Angeles, and I definitely got my wish. But I don't know. I mean, I was just at a point, I was just like writing and then saving them, just writing the script. You know, I have a bunch of them. So I just like writing the scripts and saving them, not really knowing. I didn't really know at that point. I'd wanted to direct since I was 19, but the timing never felt right. And I knew if I had tried to force it to happen, I would have just kind of made a pile of junk. Like that's what it is for me creatively. I have to wait for the timing. So I didn't even know that I was going to wind up directing it. I don't know. I was just writing the scripts and putting them in a bag kind of, and just carrying on. I don't know.
Do you remember the morning you woke up and said, this is it, and I'm going to direct it?
I remember thinking, I'll give you the truncated version. I knew I wanted to do I have other ideas for films that deal with tech more specifically that I called layered projects. But I thought, okay, but because I got a computer science degree from UCLA like not too long ago. So I thought, you know, but I want to do these more traditionally fashioned shorts and films first, because I know I may not want to go back once I've started those more complex projects. Whatever, this is my idea about, you know, I'll never want to go back, you know, whatever. So I did the 2 shorts, and I was like, okay, well, I want to do this feature. And I know I don't want that in this tech layered format that I have been thinking about. So I was like, oh, I better shoot that one too. And then, you know, when I started the shorts, I thought, well, this is very smart actually, because I do the shorts, and these are examples of my writing, directing, producing, and people can be assured that hopefully, and it worked, that they should give me the money for the film. And then I thought, all right, if I can get a good financial track record with this film, then I can get money from the next film. Then I can take those successes and then show them the more complex proposal for the, you know, the tech and entertainment combination pieces that I want to do. You know, so it's good, you know, like build a good track record in a style that people are more familiar with, and then maybe they'll feel comfortable giving me money for the more complex stuff. So hope maybe it'll work out that way. That's the plan.
Not to deviate too much, but now just because I'm curious, when you say a more tech-based approach to film, do you mean infusing technology and those types of themes in your stories, or using technology in a new way to find a different way to tell stories on screen?
Yeah, the latter. There's so much in AR and in the touchscreen technology that I'm like, I can't wait to use. So touchscreen technology obviously been around for a while. AR is still developing towards the way in which I want to use it. Places like Magic Leap are doing really exciting things. And so I have high hopes for that. But yeah, basically, because we have these methods available to us through the touchscreen and AR, you can change the script. And I mean, in the same way, when you write a script, years ago, you wrote a script for play, and then film came on the scene, rather, and literally on the screen. You could change the way the script was structured, that play was structured, to take advantage of the technical freedoms you had with film, close-ups in different locations. And there was all kinds of things you could do. Same thing with a TV series. You could stretch it out. It changes the stretch. So every time we have a step forward in technology, it changes the opportunities we have for the script structure. So what we're doing for film and TV, we have to do it write a story in a linear manner, right? But when you do something with using the touch screen or with AR, I can write a script that's more like a tree, because I can do deep dives into all these different arenas and not choose your own adventure, but basically the story is this big. So instead of structuring it like this, I can structure it like that. So in those ways, and not just doing it for the hell of it, not just using those structures for the hell of it, but rather taking stories that need to be told that way, using it to make that story richer, not just taking that format and applying it to any idea you've got. It has to be an idea that needs that kind of structure, Anyway, you can tell I get very excited I could talk forever about all the different ways that, hopefully I'll have an opportunity to use it.
You're lucky I liked this movie so much. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to pry myself away from that conversation right now.
Okay.
Going back to Violet, though, of all the directors you yourself have worked with as an actor in the past, do you find anyone's method or process influencing your own now that you're directing your own features the most?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think the method that influenced me the most, bar none, and this is not from a director, but from Gary David Goldberg, who created Family Ties, the series I was on from 16 to 21, because that was my third job in 4 months. I was like, sure, I'll give it a whirl. And, whatever, wound up on a really popular show. But he created that show. He created that set. He hired all those people. So because he was so classy and talented and even keeled, so was everyone else, because he picked them. And I've been on sets since, of course, where that wasn't the case. And they always seemed very unusual to me. Like, to me, having an even keeled set where if someone's got a great idea and it drives our thesis statement of that scene or the film deeper, we're going to use it. And respecting each other and having a good goddamn time, So that to me is normal. All the rest of it to me is abnormal. So that's the kind of set I like to be on. That's the kind of set I like to have, and hopefully we'll always have. But that's what the set of Violet was like. And so it was like, it was just, it was fun. And it was, we got the job done. I mean, just a bunch of like can-do people and no drama, it was just great. And I think that's entirely possible depending on who is at the top of this hiring pyramid. You know what I mean? Like, if I hire department heads that are well-suited and kind of have the same work ethic as me, I totally trust that the people they hire are going to be like them too. So it's a good pyramid scheme. You know what I mean?
I like the sound of that. Going back to Olivia specifically now, when you were casting the role of Violet, what was it about her or her past work that made you say, this is someone that could bring to life all of these internal things? Because I don't know, that's just one of the most challenging things in acting from my limited perspective, is when you're able to express things without actually saying them, which is essentially like, it is your movie.
Yeah, right. Well, like you said earlier, Olivia hadn't had this type of part before. But there was something in all the work that I saw of hers and all the work not just for the purposes of casting this film, but, I've been watching her for years. And there was always like these qualities that she had in her work that were like glimmers. And I was like, oh, there. And I thought, okay, I know, like, if I bring her in and then just like tease those elements out and expand them, I don't know. For me, casting is pretty simple. Like there's a quality I need for that character. And I don't need an actor to have played that character before. But if I see elements of that character in what they do, while they're not even paying attention, I know if they'll allow me, I can go in and sort of harness that small element and expand it. But I'll tell you something that's interesting. Just as a by the way, there were a number of people that I thought that of, but their representatives refused to let them meet me. They're like, give me an offer. And I'm like, well, it's like, I've seen your guy play a cowboy and a murderous preacher, but I haven't seen him play this type of thing. And I see elements I think would be good, but I'm going to have to meet them. I don't need to audition them, but I'm going to have to like meet them to see. And they're like, no. And I go, all right.
Does something like that happen because of the size of the film?
I don't know, but I don't know why. I just say that to say, if you're an actor out there and you want to work with interesting people, don't let your representatives make meeting you impossible. I don't know why I need to say that right now, but
if that's the situation, it sounds like solid advice right there.
Yeah, because it winds up being a shame, like you don't get to, who knows, maybe you're going to hit it off with that filmmaker and be in a cool film. I don't know.
That's very true. Again, going back to all your acting experience, when you're casting your own movies, is there anything that you experienced in the past that is specifically making you look for something, I guess specific again, in your actors, just in terms of the collaborative nature, not necessarily what best suits the role, but a way that you really like to work back then that now you want to see in the people that you are casting for you to work with as a director?
Oh yeah, no,
I got there eventually.
I'll tell you what, up to when I started directing, I had assumed that all the other actors worked the same way I did, where you get your lines down or as best you can. Sometimes, on the day you're with your tiny script and you're like, you've got it, and then you show it back here into the scene. But I assume that everybody had like worked the script, like ripped it apart and like really worked on it. Like I had, like gotten all the subtext and all the beats of the entire film and like where your character sort of fits in thematically for the entire film and how are you servicing that and all. I just assumed that. And then I realized that that's not true. So that is something I expect of my actors. I expect them to have worked on the script, pulled it apart, put it back together, have their subtext, understand what their character needs in that scene, what they're not getting in that scene. And if they can't identify that, like ask me, like I'll tell you, let's work, let's get in there because, and then you just got to relax and do the scene. But if you've done all that work, you don't have to think about it because it's planted in there and it's going to be flying through your mind without you understanding it or needing to, without you understanding that it's happening, and it will come through the performance. So yeah, and I needed to have a good attitude and a good work ethic, and anything less than that, to me, I'm just like, I just find unacceptable. I just do. Because here's the thing about acting. It's such a fantastic art form. And your moment in a film production comes, with the exception of post-production, comes after everything's been set up. People have been working on this for months, years sometimes, like you walk onto a set and this is true for me. Like when I was acting, like I didn't know what had gone into getting that location. I didn't know what had gone into, making sure the crew had enough parking or, there was a hassle with lunch and they couldn't have it, where they had planned to have it and they had to get another place. So that's all just location based. How about getting the money together for the project? Or the script, was it in great shape, or did they have to go through all these rewrites? You know, the director, did they have to fight for this, getting this role, this job or not? Or, you know, the cinematographer, like how much thought had they put into the lighting and all of the wardrobe, everything. Like, you know, maybe there's subtext in the wardrobe that or the production design, you know, like what's like right now, what's behind you, like informs what we gather from you, what's behind me, you know, I could turn this on if you want, whatever, you know, gives you information about me. It's all these subtleties, right? And as an actor, you're walking in when all that's been set up. You're walking into this party that's already been planned, right? So if you come in and you've got an attitude, or you've got, you're resistant to doing another take, or you don't know your lines, I mean, it's just like, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? So I have obviously high respect for actors and high respect for that art form, but to not have that perspective as far as what has gone on before you walked on the set, I think it's a shame, and it's damaging to the production and to your career, because we all talk. Hey, I'm thinking about working with so-and-so, and I saw that you worked with him on a film, what was the experience like? Because when you have all that set up, the last thing you want is somebody coming in, like right when everything's set up, you have 9 of the 10 pieces, and the 10th piece comes in and just drops a firecracker in the middle of the whole thing. Yeah, but I had actors who were, they got it. They got that they're part of this collage. We're all part of making this collage, and this is their part. This is my part. This, you know what I mean? And then you come together and make something really cool.
Yeah, you could feel it while you're watching the movie. The one ensemble member I couldn't believe when I saw him on screen was Zachary Gordon, because I think one of my very first junkets I ever covered was his Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie, and he's like itty bitty, and we're in a New York City movie theater, and he's a kid promoting his movie. So to see him like a full grown adult now commanding the screen, I was very pleasantly surprised.
He was great. I had seen with my kids those other films, but when he came in to audition, I didn't make the connection that he was the person that had been in those films. I don't know why. No, I just saw, the audition. I was like, whoa, this is good. This is good. He's really right for this part. And then it was only, I think before we did the callback or something, and I looked him up and I was like, 2 things. I was like, same as you, like, oh, wait, this is the same guy. And then also, fucking kudos to him that he doesn't have representation that said, hey, my client's like a huge star. Are you kidding me? Don't you know the films he's been in? And every time I watch his performance, and trust me, I've seen this film, I don't know, I should have counted 75, 100 times or something. He does these little things in the scenes that I'm like, dude, I love it. That sometimes like in the edit, I didn't notice until I was, a little further in or something. But yeah, he was terrific. Everybody, really great jobs. The actors, and there's some, and especially the actors that have the smallest parts, the authenticity that they bring to those parts, like pulls up the value of the film so much. And I just I so appreciate that. It makes a huge difference. When you have people in smaller parts that are like, whatever, maybe you cast a friend who's not so good, or you brought in some local talent that's not so great. It affects the film. If only subliminally the audience will they'll pull back a little bit because there's something that's doesn't really fit right with the rest of the film.
No small parts. I feel like that's something that's been coming up in a lot of interviews recently, and I like it. Before I have to let you go, I do want to tap into the editing process just a little, and I guess mush it with the onset experience, because you've got Olivia's performance, you've got Justin as the voice that we're hearing, you've also got the text on the screen. So how much of that has to be prepared in advance? How much can you convey to Olivia while she's acting on set, and how much of it comes together in the edit?
So I knew I was going to have the violent imagery because I wanted to illustrate that, a lot of us will just shrug off the sort of critical voice, you know, and just say like, oh, I'm just hard on myself. But to me, like it creates, especially if it's in the same place over and over again, it could be a paper cut, but then it starts feeling like a furrow. So, or it becomes a furrow or a scar. And so I wanted that. I already knew I wanted that violent imagery. I already knew I wanted, you know, in the original script, like the voice, of course. But then as we were cutting, I was like, I need the voice like all the time. Like as soon as he lets up from her, then the film's done. She's fine. So luckily this was before I went to record Justin's voice. So I was like, you know, sat down with Justin. I was like, okay, we've got like the script that we've got. And then I've got all these other things I want you to say. And he was like, let's go for it. So that was great. And then the writing, the main goal, I mean, when you ask like, what did I want this film to be in the beginning? I always wanted this to be a more immersive experience for the viewer. I didn't want them to like sit back and watch, you know, an actress play Violet and kind of go through this experience. I really wanted the audience to go through it. I like putting on a coat or getting in a car. I really, you know, get into a little boat and go into, it's a small world. You know what I mean? Like go into this Violet, this experience and see where it taps into your own life, your own world. And so because of that, the writing came, I was like, I need all these layers. And what it did, the writing with the voice, like created this pressure cooker on Olivia's performance. It really made it for me because it was like her trying to like bubble up, like, you know, like as if she's been buried alive and like, you know, arms coming up through the ground, like somebody get me out of here. I don't want to be here anymore. Now that I realize how heavy this is, because you can be in a situation, not realize it. And then the day you realize it, you can go, you feel like, oh my God, wait a minute. How have I been comfortable with this for so long? Like today's the day that and you can't undo what you just found out about how you're living, whether it's in a relationship or a situation or whatever. And so that's the writing is out of that, like that desperate, like, oh my God, get me out of here. And then the voice being more constant just created this sandwich of, so you see that, you know, then you see that like Olivia in that performance, like just barely holding it together with that, under that pressure coming up and coming.
Pressure cooker is a good way to describe it. I just watched like a giant studio movie where I found myself in the third act, like rooting for a character that was in an action set piece. And I found myself yelling at the screen in a similar manner. I'm not going to spoil anything, but towards the end of your movie, rooting for her to make one decision over the other. And it's just like I stopped dead in my tracks and kind of compared the two experiences. And it's, you know, it's crazy that storytelling on screen can elicit the same reaction, but in two completely different ways. And I don't know, I was very, very interested in that.
Thank you. That's great. Yeah. Yeah. I love all those. I mean, for me, filmmaking is like I said earlier, like making a collage. And I want all of my films to have that sensibility, not this same style as Violet, like that's Violet's style, but in other ways, like there's so many things we can do with the medium of film. You know, I don't have to just like shoot master coverage and we're out of the scene. Like there's so many, you know, I've been messing around in Photoshop for many, many years. And in the same way I can mess around in Photoshop, I want to mess around in film. And to the extent that it drives that story home or that intent or that thesis statement, you know, not just for the sake of it, that's silly, but whatever methods I can use to drive home whatever the thesis statement is of a film generally, and specifically in those scenes, I want to use it. So I'm looking forward to doing that in many more films.
I want to see it happen. So hurry up and make more movies. But in the meantime, I'm going to make sure our audience knows about Violet. Do keep an eye out for it. I mean, you could probably already tell at this point, but I highly recommend it when it does get its release. I'm rooting for you guys. Justine, congratulations. And thanks for coming by the channel.
Thanks for having me.